On the night of the full moon, when the village of Akunne was quiet and peaceful under a sky full of stars, a sad cry broke the silence. It was a sound so filled with pain that it made everyone who heard it feel cold and afraid. This was not the cry of an animal or the wind blowing through the trees. It was the ghostly lament of Ebele, a young woman whose love story had once brought joy to the village but whose heart was broken by betrayal. As the villagers stayed inside their homes, they whispered about the night Ebele disappeared and the dark secret that turned their happy village into a place of fear. But what happened to Ebele? And why does her spirit still haunt the village? Listen closely, as the tale of love, loss, and a tragic fate unfolds. Once upon a time, there was a young woman named Ebele. She was an orphan, known for her bright smile and kindness. Her beauty was matched only by her gentle spirit, and she was adored by everyone in the village. Ebele's heart belonged to Emeka, a young man with a warm smile and a heart full of dreams. Their love was the talk of the village, a shining example of true devotion. Ebele and Emeka had known each other since childhood. Their families were close, and their friendship blossomed into a deep and passionate love as they grew older. They spent countless hours together, talking under the stars, laughing by the river, and dreaming of their future. Emeka often spoke of their life together, imagining a home filled with love and joy, while Ebele listened with a heart full of hope. Their love was a source of joy and inspiration to the village. The couple was engaged to be married, and the entire village eagerly anticipated their union. Preparations for the wedding were underway, with everyone contributing to make the day as special as possible. Ebele had chosen a beautiful gown and the finest decorations, and Emeka had promised to make the wedding a celebration of their love. However, just as their dreams were about to come true, a dark cloud began to cast its shadow over their happiness. Emeka, driven by ambition and a desire to provide a better future for Ebele. He left the village for Lagos 2 months before their wedding on an important business trip. He assured Ebele that he would return soon, promising that his love for her would remain unwavering despite the distance. Ebele was initially filled with hope and excitement. She believed in Emeka's promises and waited patiently for his return. But as weeks turned into months, and months into years, Emeka did not come back. Ebele's once bright hope began to dim, replaced by a growing sense of loneliness and abandonment. The letters she received from Emeka grew infrequent and eventually stopped altogether. His silence was a constant ache in her heart. Rumors began to spread that Emeka had found someone else in the distant land. The whispers reached Ebele, and her heart was shattered. The woman who had once been the epitome of joy and hope now found herself drowning in despair. She questioned everything she had believed in, the promises, the love, and her own worth. The village, once filled with anticipation for her wedding, now watched with pity as Ebele's spirit waned. Desperate and heartbroken, Ebele withdrew from her friends and family. She stopped visiting the places where she and Emeka had once spent time together, no longer able to bear the memories. The once vibrant woman became a shadow of herself, consumed by sorrow and grief. Her world, once filled with dreams of a future with Emeka, was now a bleak and empty space. One fateful night, as the village lay quiet under the blanket of darkness, Ebele received the final blow. A letter arrived, not from Emeka, but from another young woman, claiming to be Emeka's new love. The letter was a cruel confirmation of the rumors Ebele had heard, and it was the final piece of evidence that shattered her already broken heart. Overwhelmed by a sense of betrayal and utter despair, Ebele felt as though she could no longer endure the pain. She saw no hope for her future, no way to escape the agony that had consumed her. The love she had once cherished had turned into a cruel joke, and she felt utterly forsaken. In the depths of her sorrow, Ebele made a tragic decision. Believing that death would bring her peace and end her suffering, she sought out the old stone well at the edge of the village, a place that had once held fond memories of her time with Emeka. The well was a silent witness to her pain, a place where she had shared dreams and promises with the man she loved. As she stood by the well, Ebele's heart was heavy with the weight of her despair. She felt a profound sense of betrayal, not just from Emeka but from the world that seemed indifferent to her suffering. With a final, tearful farewell, she threw herself into the well, hoping that the darkness would offer her the peace that life had denied her. The villagers realized Ebele was missing when she failed to return home after several days. Her absence was unusual, as she was known for her regular visits and close ties with her family and friends. Concerned, the villagers organized a search party, scouring the village and surrounding areas, but Ebele was nowhere to be found. The villagers searched everywhere but could not find her. As days turned into weeks and no trace of Ebele was found, rumors began to spread. Her disappearance coincided with the start of the ghostly wail that echoed through the village at night. The mournful sound seemed to rise from the direction of the old stone well, where Ebele had been seen last. The villagers, troubled by the eerie sound, started to piece together the connection between the wail and Ebele's disappearance. Old tales and superstitions about spirits and restless souls contributed to their belief. The eerie wail, which grew more sorrowful and persistent over time, matched the descriptions of Ebele's grief and suffering. The villagers came to believe that the wail was Ebele's spirit, trapped and mourning her lost love and tragic end. This connection was solidified by the eerie coincidence of the wail starting shortly after her disappearance, leading them to accept that Ebele's spirit was haunting the village. Every night, as the sun set and the sky turned dark, the villagers would hear a sorrowful wail echoing through the air. The sound was like a sad song, full of pain and longing. They called it the ghostly lament. The villagers believed that the haunting wail was the spirit of Ebele. They noted that the eerie sound began on the night Ebele went missing and continued without cease. Many were convinced that Ebele's spirit was trapped, endlessly searching for her lost love. Her ghostly presence appeared everywhere in Akunne, deepening the villagers' fear. It started subtly, with glimpses of a shadowy figure. A villager drawing water from the well would see a pale, sorrowful face reflected in the water. Another would see a translucent figure moving through the marketplace, only for it to vanish when approached. These sightings were always accompanied by a sudden chill, as if the air had grown colder. As days passed, Ebele's appearances became more frequent. She drifted through the fields, her form glowing faintly under the moonlight. Villagers tending to crops would see her out of the corner of their eye, moving silently among the plants. At night, she appeared in doorways, her face a mask of sorrow, her eyes searching for something or someone. Children were especially frightened. They saw her ghostly figure standing by their beds, watching them with mournful eyes. Many woke up screaming, their dreams haunted by her presence. Parents struggled to comfort their terrified children, but fear spread quickly through the community. Ebele's ghost began to appear in places that held special memories. She was seen near the riverbank where she and Emeka had spent many happy hours. Villagers who ventured there to collect water or wash clothes would find her standing by the water's edge, her gaze fixed on the horizon as if waiting for her lost love to return. The old stone well, where Ebele had ended her life, became the center of her haunting. Villagers avoided it, but those brave enough to approach often saw her ghostly figure rising from its depths. They had stopped fetching water from the well after it started smelling foul, suspecting Ebele might have fallen into it. She hovered above the well, her face twisted in anguish, her wail echoing louder than anywhere else. Despite the terror, a few villagers held on to hope. They believed that understanding Ebele's pain and helping her find peace was the key to ending the haunting. They searched for answers, consulting elders and spiritual leaders. They knew that Ebele's torment was a reflection of her unresolved sorrow, and they hoped that by addressing it, they could end the nightly wail and ghostly apparitions. One day, a young man named Chidi decided he had to know the truth. Chidi was brave and kind-hearted. He couldn't bear to see the villagers live in fear any longer. He wanted to free Ebele's spirit and bring peace to Akunne. Chidi packed a small bag with food, a lantern, and a piece of chalk. He said goodbye to his family and promised to return. As night fell, he made his way to the old, abandoned house at the edge of the village, where it was said Ebele used to live. The house was dark and silent, its windows broken, and its door hanging off its hinges. Chidi pushed the door open and stepped inside. The air was cold and heavy, and a musty smell filled his nose. He lit his lantern and looked around. The house was empty, but Chidi could feel a presence. He knew he wasn't alone. He began to explore the house, moving from room to room. The floors creaked under his feet, and shadows danced on the walls. As he reached the top of the stairs, he heard a soft whisper. It sounded like a woman's voice, faint and distant. Chidi followed the sound to a small room at the end of the hallway. The room was bare except for an old wooden chest in the corner. Chidi walked over to the chest and opened it. Inside, he found a bundle of letters tied with a ribbon. The letters were old and yellowed, but the words were still clear. They were love letters from Ebele to her lost love. As Chidi read the letters, he felt a deep sadness. He realized that Ebele had been heartbroken and alone in her final days. Chidi carefully placed the letters back in the chest. He knew he had to find Ebele's spirit and help her find peace. He walked back down the stairs and out of the house. The wail was louder now, filling the night air. Chidi followed the sound through the village and into the forest. The forest was dark and eerie, with twisted trees and thick underbrush. Chidi used his lantern to light the way, but the path was difficult to see. He pressed on, determined to find the source of the wail. As he walked deeper into the forest, the trees seemed to close in around him, their branches reaching out like skeletal fingers. Chidi stumbled upon an old, overgrown path. He followed it until he came to a small clearing. In the center of the clearing was a stone well, covered in moss and vines. The wail was coming from the well, echoing up from its depths. Chidi knew that this must be where Ebele's spirit was trapped. He walked up to the well and peered inside. The darkness seemed to go on forever. Chidi took a deep breath and called out, "Ebele, I am here to help you. Please, show yourself." For a moment, there was silence. Then, a ghostly figure began to rise from the well. It was a woman, her face pale and her eyes full of sorrow. She looked at Chidi with a longing expression. "Who are you?" she asked in a voice that was barely more than a whisper. "I am Chidi," he replied. "I want to help you find peace. Please, tell me what happened to you." Ebele's spirit floated closer to Chidi. "I was betrayed," she said. "The one I loved left me, and I was heartbroken. In my sorrow, I came to this well and threw myself in, hoping to end my pain. But my spirit became trapped, and I have been wandering ever since, unable to find peace." Chidi felt a tear roll down his cheek. "Ebele, I found your letters. Your love was true and pure. You deserve to be free. How can I help you?" Ebele's spirit looked at Chidi with a sad smile. "You are kind, Chidi. To free me, you must light a fire and burn these letters. The flames will carry my spirit away, and I will finally be at peace." Chidi nodded. He took the bundle of letters from his bag and placed them on the ground. He gathered some dry branches and leaves and built a small fire. As the flames grew, he held the letters over the fire. "Ebele, may these flames set you free," he whispered. The letters caught fire, and the flames danced brightly. As the letters burned, Ebele's spirit began to glow with a warm light. She looked at Chidi with gratitude. "Thank you, Chidi. You have given me the peace I have longed for." With those words, Ebele's spirit slowly faded away, her sorrowful wail disappearing with her. The forest grew silent, and the air felt lighter. Chidi watched as the fire burned down to embers. He knew that Ebele was finally at peace. Chidi made his way back to the village. As he emerged from the forest, the first light of dawn was breaking over the hills. The villagers were waiting for him, their faces filled with hope and curiosity. Chidi told them everything that had happened, and they listened in awe. From that day on, the ghostly lament of Akunne village was no more. The village was filled with peace and happiness, and Chidi became a hero. He had shown great bravery and kindness, and he would be remembered for generations to come. And so, the village of Akunne thrived, free from the haunting wail. Chidi continued to live his life with a heart full of courage and compassion, always ready to help those in need. The story of Ebele and the ghostly lament became a tale of love and bravery, passed down from one generation to the next, a reminder that even in the darkest of times, hope and kindness can bring light. Kindly support me subscribing to my YouTube channel or follow my Facebook or TikTok page depending where you are watching this video, like my video and drop your comments.